Okay, these might work. Okay, I would love you to do this in Belarus, who will not only influence your own industry but also the world. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm back. So good to see you again. Today I want to speak about the topic: what business can a foreigner start in Belarus? Well, this is a topic that you might think is not appropriate, not good for the moment. But I'm going to explain in this video why I think this might be a very good time for you to start a business in this country. The topic arose because one of the blog visitors subscribers asked me to actually shoot a video on this subject. He's been watching Belarus for 2 years already or so, and he thinks that this is going to be a country with booming economy and with a lot of opportunities, and he wants to be first one who use those opportunities here. You might ask, Tina, are you insane? Do you really think that this is a good time to start a business in Belarus? Yes, I know the number of obstacles that we have. I know that we have a migrants crisis. I know that we have political prisoners. I know the number of people who've been detained and put to jail. I know all of that. I know the restrictions that we have because of COVID-19. But at the same time, I also know the story of Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of the IKEA, who was brave enough in 1961 to move the furniture production to Poland. And actually this story, when I heard it, fascinated me a lot. First, you have to be creative. So he was the one thinking out of the box, because no one or very few companies actually outsourced production to other countries back then. Second, he had to be very hardworking and conscientious and meticulous, because it was a communist country. It was the middle of the economic stagnation, so there were no infrastructure, no legal protection, which is very important, very poor equipment, very poor personnel, and he had to deal with all of that to build a high effective and efficient production. Okay, you may be creative, you might be hardworking, but whether or not you will be disagreeable, whether or not you will be able to be non-conformist, and he dared to implement his decision. It was the middle of the Cold War. It was not a good time to put production to a rivaling country. It was the time when the Berlin Wall was built. The world was one step from the Caribbean crisis and the nuclear catastrophe. So at the same time, he had the willpower to start a business back in Poland. So this example actually fascinated me a lot and inspired me. So maybe you're the next Ingvar Kamprad, who will not only influence your own industry but also the world. I would love you to do this in Belarus. So let's go to the examples. My ultimate advice would be to start a business where you're already expert at, where you have all the knowledge and capacities, and start a thing that does not yet exist in Belarus. For example, a guy from Venezuela started a Latina burger place that was a street food place, Latin American street food, in Молодечно, which is a province city, 90,000, 100,000 people, 60 kilometers from Minsk. And it was so popular that people actually started to come from Minsk, the capital of the country, to have those burgers. So he had to open a very similar place in Minsk, and then later on a second place in Молодечно. Very similar example, a Lankan guy opened an Asian street food in one of the metro stations in Minsk. The place was overcrowded. Eventually he had to open 2 more locations in Minsk city. So okay, you say street food, hospitality, tourism, maybe it's exotic, maybe it's interesting. Okay, these might work. Okay, I'm not in food industry or food service or hospitality. So my next example is connected with an American whose main business is oil drilling equipment. After the quarantine and after the restrictions of COVID-19, he decided to move to Europe because his employees did not want to or could not work the amount of time necessary, because his employees were getting benefits from the government. So he had to expand his business. So what did he do? He moved to Europe, to Lithuania first, and later on he also decided to move even further. So he was considering 3 countries, and I was surprised what was the choice. It was Bulgaria, Belarus, and Vietnam. And out of those 3 countries, he chose Belarus because there were no or very little COVID restrictions. Now he's been here for a couple of years. He says there's quite a lot of bureaucracy, but still it's all possible. Okay, another example is an Australian who came to Belarus to grow, you won't believe what, to grow quinoa. We are not Peru, we are not Bolivia, but he says there's very good climate and conditions if someone wants to grow quinoa. And actually we have a local wild meadow plant very similar to quinoa. So he adjusted that breed, that crop to the local conditions. And actually agriculture is one of the areas that I would like you to consider and to explore, because you can rent land at quite a low price. For example, I'll give you an example. There are some government programs where you can rent a house, some school, club of culture, or something like that at some discounted price, and you will need to make an investment project out of that. For example, a place with a house of 1,600 square meters with gas and electricity and a land around. The land is 1.6 hectares, which is 1.5 acres. The cost would be $200. That's unbelievable, that's amazing. Of course, there are conditions that you have to turn this place into some agricultural site or location, but that is not the investment for business. Another example would be a Nigerian that is having a dance school here. So again, exotic, he was experienced at that, and that's what he would bring to the public. Why I think this might be a good time to actually start a business. To come here and to stay longer, you will need a temporary residence permit, and you can do it by investment. We've already spoke about that. And you can do it by real estate, and the costs for real estate are really dropping down. In Minsk, apartments without furnishing dropped by 15%, which is $1,400 USD versus $1,625 back in May for 1 square meter in a frame block apartment near metro. And costs for secondary houses with furnishing dropped even bigger by 25%, $1,500 USD versus $200 USD. Again, back in May, now and back in May. This is probably the best time to buy apartments, to buy property here, because the market is on the decline. We spoke today about some of the reasons why this might be a good time to start a business in Belarus, why this might be a crazy idea. I'm not insane. Please consider this option. Be reasonable, of course, but at least give it a chance. If you're a foreigner watching this video, please let us know in the comments below if you're living here and doing a business, or if you're considering to do business in Belarus. Please let us know. This will be very interesting to know and to learn from your experience. Also, if you liked that video, please comment, please subscribe to this channel. You're very welcome to this channel and to our lovely country. Have a great day. It's incredible. I just made the whole video without actually connecting the microphone to the camera. Can you imagine that?